Get a little message. Fabulous. Okay. Now this presentation is by no means comprehensive, but there we go. I don't think I've said this yet. Welcome to Wellingborough Community Resilience Forum, all of you. These are forums for local people and organisations to work on making the community more resilient, making us all sort of better, particularly during the cost of living crisis. Okay, so what's on the agenda today? We've done the welcome, we've done the introductions. We've got a little bit on inclusion, a bit on people in crisis, a tiny bit on how we can help, and then we're going to stop doing the presentation, look at how we can work together, and hopefully, I know Karen's already told us all about the stuff that she does, but look at the new activities that we're all doing. And then if we get time, look at some conclusions and proposals. Everybody happy so far?
Yep.
I'm not going to make any comments at all, Marion. So what is inclusion? That's a funny picture. Or should I start with what is inclusivity? Many of us have thought what it is, but what does it really mean to be truly inclusive? Inclusion is critical to making our community work, and we must all work together to make equal and diverse spaces everywhere we go. This doesn't mean you have to know everything. I certainly don't. But understanding what inclusivity is a good place to start. So what's inclusion then, if that's inclusivity? It's a practice of providing equal access opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalised, such as those who have physical or mental disabilities and members of other ethnic minority groups. So a lot of things are said when we're talking about inclusion. People start to talk about diversity, equality, and even equity interchangeably. So if you're not confused, or if you are confused, you're not alone. However, focusing on inclusion doesn't prevent us from thinking or discussing and acting on diversity and equality. So what's equality? Or equity, sorry. See, I'm getting confused already. It's about creating equal possible outcomes for everyone. Diversity is the mix of people. So you could say that Wellingborough is one of the more diverse towns in the country. We've got a large population of Eastern Europeans, a large population of South Asian people, and of course we've got quite a strong Afro-Caribbean community as well. So inclusion is the culture in which a mix of people can feel comfortable and confident to be themselves and to take part in a way that suits them. Inclusion will ensure that everyone feels valued. Everybody wants to feel valued. Does anybody not feel valued? Oh, Marion's got her hand up. I think we'll leave it there. Are you? Sorry, go on.
No, it's interesting. If we slow down a minute, it's interesting, the whole thing of the way that the terms inclusion, diversity, and equality are kind of stuck together. And obviously they are very closely linked, but they're not the same. And you know, while some people may be included in one conversation or one activity in our communities, they may not be included in other activities or conversations. I think yeah, it's worth thinking about the difference between those things. Yeah. So it's
Has
quite.
anybody else got anything to say about sort of the different sort of, I don't know, ways of describing sort of inclusivity and different phrases that are used around that? Because it's a massive thing, isn't it? It's not just, are we including disabled people? Are we including ethnic minorities? Are we including LGBT people? I probably missed a couple of letters off of that, but it's about including everybody and making everybody feel included.
Yeah, it can be. I suppose I can give an example where obviously I feel very included in this meeting, but you know, I obviously, well, I identify as lesbian, and but as a resident, I don't always feel very included in the decisions that are made in my community. Not because I'm gay, but because I'm a resident. You know, so I think there's lots of things around inclusion and inclusivity that are different, and you know, and I can feel included in some ways but excluded in others.
That's an important point, because it's not just the fact that you are a particular member of a group. It could be that you're young or you're old. I'm going to bring some other examples up later, but there's more scope to this. The reason why I've decided to do this presentation this month is because we're coming towards the end of Black History Month, and next month it's UK Disability UK Disability History Month from about the 15th of November. So there's quite a few sort of things out there in the media. I thought this might sort of touch base with a few people. Anyhow, are you feeling included? Marion's feeling included. Lorraine might be feeling included because she got a new haircut. But sorry, Lorraine, had to pick on you a little bit there. Feeling included is a key aspect of human life. Many of us can recall a sense of exclusion, moments when we feel left out, other different, or that we weren't welcomed or weren't appreciated. I certainly had a few of those at school. Inclusion is the reverse of feeling like that. It's about making people feel welcome, ensuring that it's safe for them to express who they choose to be, and demonstrating our appreciation for their input, working collaboratively, and showing we care. You could almost have that little part of like what that is. It almost sums up what we do on this forum. So that's nice. So, okay, we know roughly what inclusion is, but what's kind of stopping us from doing that? The big one is talking to each other, of course, particularly after the pandemic or even during the pandemic. Nobody talked to anybody, did they? Because we were a bit scared of each other, I think is the nicest way of putting it. We do sort of half communicate on social media. We kind of like things, and some of us make silly comments. But it's not really talking to people and getting to know people and sort of appreciating people. A lot of people have an unconscious bias, probably because that's the way they were brought up. So, for instance, I'm going to give an example. This sounds terrible, but that's just the way it was. When I went to school, primary school, I saw one person that wasn't white British. Do you know what I mean? I lived in a tiny village, and this young girl who was a couple of years younger than me, sort of, I don't know, whatever age she was, and he stayed at the school for about 2 weeks. So yeah, then going to a secondary school, which had loads of different people, it was a totally different world. Do you know what I mean? But still, there was only a handful of sort of other ethnic sort of groups at that school. But like I said earlier, Wellingborough is a lot more mixed than perhaps East Hertfordshire was, where I grew up. Another thing is, like, this sort of feeds in a bit with the unconscious bias. Sometimes there's a bit of a lack of trust because there is that kind of lack of understanding. People don't really understand why, for instance, if somebody's gay, for instance, they wouldn't understand it. So there could be a lack of trust or something there. Big one is trying to tick every box. Very easy to sort of sit there with a bit of paper and pen and try and sort of fill every box in, but not actually do what you're trying to do, not trying to be included or inclusive. Discrimination, well, I think that is fairly sort of obvious. There are still some people out there that, for whatever reason, think they're better than everybody else. But obviously that is a lot more serious than I'm making it sound.
Just on the trying to tick every box thing.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's kind of I think what you were saying really was more about, say if someone's running a project and they put up some element of the project systems to show that they're being inclusive, but in reality, in the way they run the project, they're not actually enabling inclusivity, or they're not enabling equal participation, then so some people might just be playing lip service to the notion of inclusivity. Do you know what I mean? So they might have had it on the form when you first apply to take part in something, but when you actually get in to take part, there aren't the facilities or the options to enable inclusivity. So in other words, you scratch the surface and it's we're back to one size fits all approach again, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, that could be true, but there could also be such a focus on trying to be sort of, how can I put it, inclusive for everybody, that actually you're missing out on the, I don't know, the sharing part of it, the trying to work together with people. I think that sometimes you kind of it has to be organic rather than sort of manufactured. And I think that's what I was trying to say there with the ticking every box, is that if you try and have a manufactured sort of way of working on this, that's going to be quite hard one to manage. Like, people should do it because they believe it. Do you know what I mean? People should be encompass it rather than just kind of try and tick boxes, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Sorry, Jonathan, just to follow on from that point.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
tick boxing could be also looked at since George Floyd. All of a sudden, there's an influx of more diversity on the TV. So it could be like we've ticked the box because now there was a black woman and somebody in a wheelchair, so we're good to go for this project. So, you know, it would seem that a tick boxing would be something that is not so much practiced now, but I would think it's more so.
Is it a good thing though, Lorraine, or a bad thing?
See, I asked this question in another meeting. I have this question in another meeting when I spoke to somebody who had gender reassignment, and then all because of that now she'd been booked out, her calories full because they wanted to talk everywhere. Yeah. And I asked that question to her. I said, well, how do you feel now that we're kind of in fashion now? Yeah. You know, and then her response to me was, do you know what, Lorraine, just go with it. It's not a bad thing. We can change things as we're in there, but at least we've been given the stage as we wasn't given the stage before. So you could look at it from, I suppose, different points of view.
I think if people have experienced discrimination for whatever reason, and sometimes they might have experienced a considerable level of hostility and illegality to do with their difference, you know, and this comes back to the point about a lack of trust at the beginning, because a lot of people, you know, if you've been in that kind of that difficult position, you are, it's often you're scared. I mean, some people can be scared for their life, not just for you know, whether they feel upset about something or not. They actually can be scared for their life about whether they stand up and speak, or whether they sit up and speak, whatever. So it is, there's a lot of, I'm saying emotional baggage, but it's not emotional baggage. It's experience that we have felt. And I guess what I want to experience when I'm in any group of people is them seeing me, you know, not seeing a badge or a logo or whatever, but actually seeing and hearing me, and that people are mindful. You know, if you have guests coming to your home, you think about, well, how do I help all of the people coming to feel welcome, to feel heard, and to feel brought together. And actually what some of us have experienced, and I'll own that, what I've also experienced is sometimes it's all right, but don't speak up. And when we had it the other day, didn't we? We got the World Cup in Qatar in a few days' time, and you had our foreign secretary saying, if you're gay and going to this, well, maybe you might want to be a little bit less gay when you're actually there, you know. And I found that incredibly offensive, because it's like, and no disrespect, I would never say this, but you know, how could he go and be less black? You know,
Yeah.
It is about accepting us as we all are, and you know, I found that really upsetting, because you know, when you've been brought up where you had to hide to be safe, to go back into the closet because it's inconvenient for some people. I think the whole thing about tick box stuff is the inclusion genuine? And I appreciate really what Lorraine was saying about the woman that she spoke to. And yeah, in our lives, we've had to go with it, you know, because you don't get it all the way you'd really like it.
Yeah, so
basically, Doreen.
Sorry, I'm slightly distracted.
You don't get it the way you necessarily like it, but you know, and often we have to kind of, what's the phrase? Again, picking up on what Lorraine was saying, we have to kind of be with that, accept, take what we can, you know. And is that really fair? Should we all be taking what we can, or should we all be striving to include each other? You know, and I mean, I guess, you know, for me as a lesbian woman, my life experience now is infinitely better than it was when I was in my 20s, you know, and I witnessed of things that I saw and experienced and felt at that time. But, you know, I shouldn't have to be grateful about that. You know, these are our human rights. So
it's a real strange, sorry to interrupt, Marion, it is a real strange one. And I think James cleverly was very clumsy in what he was trying to say.
He was clumsy.
Very, very clumsy.
But it is offensive for people from the LGBTQ communities.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've been in the closet, you know, we've experienced horrendous discrimination. Some people have been killed for being gay and still are now. And to go and to be asked to hide, you know, so we can take part is extremely offensive. So that's just me expressing my upset about what was said, to be honest, because this man is our foreign secretary, and that's why I find it really upsetting.
I'm not completely sure. I don't want to stand up for him at all, but I'm not completely sure that's what he was trying to say. But that's what he said, basically, wasn't it?
Well, it is an attitude that most of us that are from the LGBT communities have experienced most of our lives, or a lot of our lives. And, you know, it's like we can turn ourselves off. And no, you know, we can be silent, but we can't turn ourselves off. You know, just like he can't turn himself off in any way, and I wouldn't expect him to.
I think what he was trying to say was, do be aware you're in a foreign country and different rules apply. Now, if he'd have just said that, that's fine, but he was overtly sort of making that point, wasn't he, basically? Yeah. Anyway,
the tick box thing is quite important. So anyway, so I'll shut up.
No, go on, you can carry on. Go on.
No, I can see Karen's got a hand up.
Go for it then, Karen.
I think on that one issue, it's not knowing what sort of behaviour is seen as an offensive, because if me and Marion went in holding hands, is that seen as offensive? You know,
is it our hairstyle?
What is our behaviour, or is it the way we look? Is it, you know, we
really
could be put into prison for the simplest thing, because we're just being, because we've been used to being here, that we can be more relaxed about how we are. We wouldn't be overtly you know, sexual or anything like that, but do you know what I mean? Just being yourself, and people can see that you're a couple often. Is that in itself enough to, you know, have that sort of discrimination really in that country? But yeah, so yeah, anyway, that's what it is.
No, good point. Shall we move on to hostility in the organisation? Hopefully we'll have none of that here. Because that kind of ties into that a little bit, doesn't it? Hostility in the country in this case. That's a very sort of good point, isn't it? That you've got to sometimes think who's leading it. Like a lack of senior buy-in is almost the same thing, isn't it? That some organisations aren't as quietly up to date, should I say, as other organisations.
Yeah, I find this whole thing, I don't really know what woke means, but somebody said it to me recently, and we were trying to think something out in a particular situation. And it's like, for me, that's the opposite of, you know, these labels which are decrying attempts to include people. I find that, again, insulting because, you know, upsetting really, not just insulting, but upsetting, because, you know, I can try and work within my community to see people as they are, you know, not to see their race or gender or sexuality or whatever, disability or whatever, but actually try and see a person as a person. And but yeah, it's so hard, because on the one hand you want to try and see a person as a person, but then sometimes to do that, in order to help people feel included, we need to understand a bit about some of the challenges that people might feel to be able to be in a group of people, you know, or might experience to be in there. Like a very practical one for a person who's disabled by society is actually being able to get in that room. And when you get in the room, understand what people are saying or hear what people are saying. Or so there's some really practical things that when you're holding an event or a meeting or whatever, that you need to consider to help people to be able to be there.
And it is exactly that, is that I've got an example for you, because this year I've been in a wheelchair at the start of the year, and we did the litter pick with the council, Great British Spring Clean. I turned up in a wheelchair, and I might as well have been invisible. Do you know what I mean? It was like somebody just turned the switch on and I just simply wasn't there. So I mean, most people kind of just, I don't know, they were talking above me, and I was a bit like, well, what? This is just ridiculous, because if I was standing there, I'd be part of the gang. And I just thought, like, it's such an eye opener and almost like a privilege to sort of be in that position, to actually see how people are treated so differently just because of how they are. Do you know what I mean? And that probably happens to people of different ethnic groups as well, that they just, I don't know, I'm not an expert on that. I don't think that's going to happen to me next year. Do you know what I mean? But just simply sort of having that as a thing, it was really weird. And obviously, like, people like Marion obviously talk to me, and just anyway, that's my experience with being in a wheelchair. That literally you've gone from this person where everybody sees you to almost being invisible. And I think, go on, Lorraine. Sorry.
Sorry. Just going on that note, I definitely understand. Well, I am from that from that background, so I can say from my experiences, it's like being on this call. I can't hide my badge. Do you know what I mean? I can't have an opportunity ever to walk into a room and hide who I am, let alone probably being black and in a wheelchair. It's like double whammy. But it's it is, I definitely get that. It is that first sight of seeing somebody in a wheelchair, and then the unconscious bias has stepped in.
Yep.
The lack of psychological safety sets in, because they don't know how to talk. They don't know what questions to ask, or are you okay, Jonathan? Is this lifelong, or what could offend? And it's the same situation that Black History Month, in a sense, brings up conversations that sometimes people feel a little bit uncomfortable asking. But unless I just spoke to you that day and said, "Hi, Jonathan, how are you? What's going on with you?" I would have got an answer and a response. But it's having that confidence to go and, I suppose, have that conversation.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. But that, I don't know. Like I said, that was
I
just
think
my
I think that's a really important point, because the I think some people might think that they don't want to say the wrong thing to me or offend me, and equally I have the same anxiety when speaking to others. And if we can get past, I mean, and it is, to be, let's take James Cleverly for a minute. It is it's easy to be clumsy in our words. We might not really be able to communicate what we want to say, but I think one of the difficulties is often that we just don't get to know each other and listen to each other and hear each other's experience of life. And the more we did that, the more we'll be able to connect as humans with each other, and understand that the group of people in the room are people that we want to connect with, and that we actually, many of us will want to find ways of enabling that and supporting that. And I think that's the thing. I think the more you understand about inclusivity and cherish diversity and strive to enable people taking part, the better. And it's but it is about listening, actually.
That's exactly what it is. Shall I move on from this screen? I bet we're all bored of this screen by now, aren't we?
Yeah, so this is all. I don't think you can talk about inclusivity and not go into all of these things, because it holds a lot of feelings for people.
No, and there's probably more on there, isn't there? Like people's misconceptions as well. I don't know if any of those cover that.
You've got there at the bottom, towards the bottom, about hostility in organisations. I think in a lot of organisations there's a lack of, we do live in a culture which has a one-size-fits-all approach to the world. It's trying to become and allow and enable greater diversity, but it's almost like, if we're in a rush, there's only one way. If we're in a crisis, there's only one way of resolving it. There's only one solution, and it's the normal one. And I hate the word normal, but it's, and I think a really robust society, not just a human society, but a natural society involving all of nature, is one that is diverse and enables diversity, and cherishes that. And I think that lots of organisations are still struggling. The biggest level of discrimination in this country is towards people that are female, followed. The worst levels of discrimination will be, there's different groups that just not even listened to at all, or even included at all, and many of us can recount so many stories even now in our communities of people being discriminated against badly. And we've got a long way to go, actually. So you bring this topic today, you're going to bring up a lot of stuff with people.
No, it's great that we're actually able to sort of get in and talk about it. And although we may not be great in numbers, we've got a lot of experience on this call, which is fantastic. I mean, it's nice to get this sort of discussed in this friendly but cooperative sort of way. Anyway, I'm going to move on, because believe it or not, there's even more stuff to look at. So who faces barriers is obviously a thing. I think between, like ourselves, we've probably talked about all of these, but
What are you doing, Doreen? Sorry,
no, you carry on. I don't know what she's doing either, but there we go.
dusting. You're dusting, Doreen.
I think we've
Okay.
talked.
Whatever. Sorry.
You're on mute as well, Doreen, but there we go. So look at the people that could be sort of facing barriers: people that are old, people that are disabled, people that had gender reassignment, including non-binary. Where are you? Marriage and civil partnerships, pregnancy and maternity, race, religion, belief, sex, and sexual orientation are some of the factors that can mean that people have different experiences or face barriers and prejudice. These are the protected characteristics under the Equality Act of 2010, and this means it's unlawful to treat anybody less favourably because of any of these factors. But of course, they're not the only factors, as we've said. Other barriers include literacy, if you're not particularly good at speaking, or English as a second language. Where you live, a lot of people are treated differently because they live on one estate compared to a different estate, for instance, in Wellingborough. Poverty, other prejudices that people just kind of click. Do you know what I mean? People think, and a lack of formal education as well. So when you're looking for a job, do you know what I mean? The fact that you've got the experience but not necessarily tick those boxes again could be a barrier to you. I'm going to move on. And what does this lead to? Of course, it leads to those people that are facing the barriers being in crisis, I mean, more in crisis during the cost of living crisis. And again, the cost of living crisis does affect everybody. Apparently, we're all in this together, but it does affect some people a lot more than others. As Marion said earlier, women, especially single mums, children, because they don't have a choice, people of colour, people with complex needs, that might be referring to people with disabilities, people live in the middle of nowhere who don't have access to services. It's their choice, you could say, but that might be where they're always lived. And of course, old people. And something that I think I had a big conversation with this about with Karen about this, like long before we even called this time a cost of living crisis, is that people who are disabled, and then possibly one of those other headings that we've just said, I think Lorraine was talking about being black and in a wheelchair, are even worse off. And of course, they're hit the hardest. And more than anybody else, they are literally choosing between heating and eating at the moment. It says here too many people lived in poverty before the cost of living crisis hit. Now 4 in 10 disabled people have already cut back on food and other essentials. And unbelievably, 600,000 disabled people have less than a tenner a week to live on, which is just like mind-boggling. What do you do with that? Not a lot. Of course, many disabled people do have higher bills because they need help in the house. They need powered wheelchairs, ventilators, dialysis machines, and they're not necessarily getting the help with that. There's another slide coming up in a second. But you can imagine that cutting back on the use of a wheelchair, or worse, ventilator, a dialysis machine, is going to make a massive difference to their health.
Well,
Well,
later they'll die, won't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm perhaps not egging the pudding quite enough there, but do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, there was an article on the news on the East Midlands News, East Anglia News last night. Look, about a young disabled woman whose mother, she's the young disabled woman is profoundly disabled, and the mother's thinking, well, if I can't afford to pay the bills, then I might have to consider my child, my daughter, going into care. Basically, and we know of people, and Karen can tell you of people that, not just about this cost of living crisis, but the way the care and support sector has diminished in the last 10 to 12 years, that are being forced into residential care when they really want to be living their own lives and living independently. And this is actually threatening people's lives.
Yeah, and it's more than that as well, because of course you've got people like somebody who came to the Eco Club today. Her daughter couldn't look after his son. The son's like very sort of disabled, got autism, and not very, but there's enough there to make it a massive issue. And she couldn't handle it. Luckily enough, her mum, if you like, Granny, has sort of taken over. But even she's looking at it going, she doesn't want him to go into care, but there are a lot of reasons why you can see these they are struggling. But anyway. So obviously there are reasons why this is happening. The benefits system doesn't compensate for true cost of disability. It costs average £550 more per person to live as a disabled person, and obviously if you've got a lot of needs, it could be up to £1,000 extra on top of all your other bills that person needs to spend. Local authorities used to plug that gap, but obviously they're now taking away from social care budgets and taking away the disability benefits people get. And of course, if you're not able to do some jobs, then unless you're very lucky, very qualified, you are more than likely going to be earning less than your non-disabled colleagues.
Especially if you're excluded from work.
Yeah.
As many people are.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's a real challenge, is that actually are all workplaces adapted for people with disabilities? Of course they're not. Of course they're not. Like quite often offices, a place where a disabled person could work, you have to go up a few flights of stairs to get to there. So they're already automatically excluded. I'm just thinking, like, I've done a few visits to warehouses, and obviously Wellingborough has quite a few of those. The places where disabled people could work are inaccessible for disabled people to work in those warehouses because they're generally all upstairs above the main floor. So, yeah,
I think the move to online work opportunities is helping in some regard. Karen can obviously talk a bit more about that if she wishes, but it is helping in some regard. But it doesn't compensate for the fact that most of our society is not particularly accessible, in not just physically accessible. There's lots of other accessibility challenges. But yeah, back to the one size fits all approach, I'm afraid.
absolutely. And working from home obviously has its own challenges, doesn't it? That, like, we are social beings. Like, being disabled, black, or anybody wants to actually talk to people and sort of work with people. Being stuck indoors for your job as well as your home life, if you like, isn't really going to get people that social interaction that everybody needs. So obviously we are people that can help, because we do, well, as we said earlier, as we all introduced ourselves, we have lots of things where we can actually make a difference to people, and make what we do in particular and what people's experiences are more inclusive.
Yep.
Obviously, the most important thing is we all want to help as much as possible. I don't think anybody's on here that has come on here because they don't care. So we all want to do something, but how? First thing I would do is to make our services accessible to everybody. So, for instance, if they can't get into your service, there's a stairs at the front, or, like, for instance, at the Eco Hub at Glamis Hall, the mobility ramp is quite often blocked off because we have electric car cables or cars parked in the front. It's something that I would go, right, we need to do something about that. But that needs to be a bit more cooperative. But it's also about sort of enabling people to access services in different ways. So, for instance, Marion said earlier about people accessing services or working from home. Some of these services could be accessed through video calls, just like this one, that people might feel more comfortable on. There's a big one that I know Marion's sort of looking at and going, that's definitely something that we need to do by providing effective planning and different activities, making things different in order to meet individual needs. Is exactly what Marion said earlier about not having the one size box that fits all. Karen, you got your hand up.
You know, going back to jobs and things like that, I think it's one size fits all. And when I've been trying to look for work before, it's you have to go to the place, even if you don't go every day and you can work some bits at home, you have to sort of get there. And there's no flexibility. I've rarely found any flexibility. It's no, you've got to come between this time and that time, and yeah, it's very hard to find a job that's flexible enough. I have, my condition means that some days I'm all right, some days I'm dreadful. Some days I could work, some days I could not. But there's no job that wants you to do that. So I'm now self-employed because I can then work better as and when I can. But again, it's still finding those contracts or that work that fits into that. So that's been a real difficulty over the years for me.
Yeah, and it will be. And I say, looking at the list that we were looking at earlier, imagine, dare I say it, that you were older or living in the middle of nowhere, it'd be even worse, wouldn't do you know what I mean? You've got a huge array of issues there.
In a way, that's why we don't live in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah,
because we're already blocked from living in the middle of nowhere. Because I drive, but Karen doesn't drive, so you know, and that's not necessarily just about being disabled, but you're kind of, people are disabled in a different way, aren't they, by the poor transport links, etc. You know,
I think that's why a lot of people live in towns, like if you don't drive or whatever. Yeah, so. But yeah, I think that's a really, really big one that actually sort of we can all do either together or as individual organisations, is be aware that we need to offer different services to meet individuals' needs. Of course, the most important thing you can do, as we sort of had a big old slide on earlier, is talk to people, give people the advice, the practical sort of money saving tips, and like signpost people to the support that is available. Because again, we're sort of going back to the disabled group, if you like, is that a lot of disabled people don't get the benefits or benefit from the things that they could. Of course, that's why we hold these little forums. There it goes, having a little wriggle. We can help each other to make Wellingborough a better place to live and work by working together, basically. This is what this forum's for, but we've also got an email list that anybody, there's 32 members on there at the moment. You send an email to community@wellingborough.org. That will go to the other 31 of us, and that's just a good way of sharing sort of stuff that you're doing and services that are available. We've also got a WhatsApp group, not quite so popular, but everybody's got an email, and a Facebook group that I think's got 150 people on it now. And again, that is generally just people in the community that want to make a difference. So you use these things, share, sort of try and get everybody sort of working together. But obviously, it's not just all about this presentation and the topic. This forum is as much about us talking to each other and us sharing the events that we all do and trying to work out how we can work with each other. So on that, we're all back in the room.
yay.
Yay. Does anybody have any comments on that presentation? Oh, even Joanne's joined us. There you go. Or would like to make any further comments, because I'm very aware that I have missed out huge chunks of that. Lorraine, you stuck your hand up first.
Sorry, on the last slide that you've just done about sharing what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's really, really important to me, because at the moment I work with our customers looking at EDI within our customer base.
Can I ask what EDI is?
Equality, diversity and inclusion.
Oh, okay.
So what I've been doing is talking to our customers. These are people that live on the estates, that live in Wellingborough, and find out how they would like to be communicated with. Because a lot of the time we had feedback about maybe being a bit too, corporate-y, heavy. And so what I've decided to do with celebrating for Pride, celebrating Black History Month, celebrating Diwali, is have people from the community read stories or do mini interviews to ask questions or to promote this. So we've literally just finished a video with Merle from Made with Many reading a Caribbean story, a children's well-known story. And I would love to get that out as far. So would that be okay to share the link with everybody every time?
Yeah, share it, and
something?
I'll share it around as well. Like if you share
Okay.
stuff on there and say, Jonathan, can you share it?
Yeah.
I'll post it all over social media like I do.
Brilliant.
And things like that we can all work on more collaboratively. It's
Yeah.
good that you're working with Made with Many already. But for instance, just as an example with your organisation, Nikki Glazebrook is doing some warm home sessions at the Eco Hub. So middle of November, I think he's getting a few experts, if you like. I don't know who these people are, but you never know. I might be pleasantly surprised. And that's what our Thursday is about, are basically people coming in, talking, sharing.
Brilliant.
And I'll extend that invitation to you as well, Lorraine, as if you wanted to somehow have some sort of an event there on a Thursday or whatever day. We've got it there 7 days a week, just to try and get people talking to each other, because it's a massive challenge when a lot of people don't actually speak the first language, if you like, and two, people just feel excluded, which is the point of this session.
I'd love to come along, no problem.
Pop
Do
in
you know
anytime.
Do you know when those are starting, Jonathan? Sorry, Dawn.
I think they're the second and third Thursdays in November. I could have a look on the emails if somebody would like to have a bit of a chat for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I'll send it out to everybody later, probably, rather than delaying everything. Would anybody else like to add anything? Doreen.
You're muted, Doreen.
That's it. Yeah, you talk about social media and emails and WhatsApp and all this sort of thing. You're really speaking to the middle-aged and younger people, because there's not many people of my age that can do Facebook or email or anything like that. So how do you get to the older generation?
That's a really good challenge, actually, is that unless like older generation know where to meet, and again, that's why we've tried to set up a base where people know where we are, where I'm saying I've got my Wellingborough Eco Group hat on rather than the other 5 or 6, just to try and get people involved and to try and have services and stuff. Hello, Mary from Redeem Funds. I'm not good. I've made a joke at Lorraine's expense. So you're not sitting on the loo, are you?
No,
Oh,
look
okay,
where I
sorry,
am.
that's good.
Look where I am.
Oh, good.
Yes, you go.
It just looked like a cloakroom. Sorry.
I was meant to shut, but because there were some 2 referrals for the ladies and they were coming from the refuse center, so I have to keep open for them. So they've just taken the bits they wanted and they left, and only I was able to open this and sit.
Fabulous. Sorry about that rather crass joke. Do you know everybody on the call, and does everybody know you?
I think almost, yeah.
I think like Lorraine, me,
Hello,
Karen.
Lorraine.
Hello, Mary. How are you?
Hi, Joe, Marion.
Hello, Mary. Do you know
That makes it-
Doreen? You know Doreen?
I think Doreen, I may not personally met her or know about it.
Yeah, Doreen. Well, do you want to introduce yourself again, Doreen?
Yeah, I'm the secretary of the Alma Street Church.
Ah, hello, nice to meet you.
And she's also Karen's mum and my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Oh, you
okay.
kept that secret.
It's a family affair. I actually
Mm.
joked with Mary yesterday that she'll come in as soon as the presentation is finished, and lo and behold, amazingly, she managed. I don't know how she managed to plan that, but there we go. So you missed the presentation, which you're probably glad about, but there we go. We were talking about inclusion, Mary, and we had an interesting conversation about sort of how you are included or not included. I think you said you were the only sort of Nepali family in Wellingborough or something.
Yeah, Monopoly. Yes, the only one. So far, in all the school records, I haven't seen any and
Oh,
anywhere
wow.
places. So I think we're the only one.
So would you consider yourself to be South Asian, or how would you describe yourself, Mary?
It's normally,
do
well, it's just like Asian, but sometimes you don't have the category of Nepalese, so we fall under any other Asian.
other Asian, yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting. There you go. Would you like to share any of your experiences, or perhaps even give us some tips on sort of what works for you? Because your background's quite interesting anyway, isn't it? And your husband obviously was a Gurkha, so that's quite interesting. Well, it's very interesting, obviously. Shall I shut up and you have a little tell us what your sort of experiences are?
You can tell what is interesting you've
No,
seen.
I've given all your secrets away now. Sorry.
I think when I first moved in here, it was okay for us because we were used to with a little bit of British cultures and those things. It was difficult for my kids because they didn't have any friends and those things. Pris, the older one, actually got victim of bully because she was, I don't know why, and she didn't say anything to me because she was coping well with it. I only figure out when it was like kind of a rumor outside. And I actually stepped in a school, and then I said, I need to talk with the parents. School dealt with really well and did apologize. The parents apologized. It was a misunderstanding where, my daughter was pulled in. That was the only one incident. After that, to be honest, I never had any issues, whether that's the medical side or schools or any other places. Never been thrown any racist comment on me by anyone so far, I'm aware. Neither the kids, they're okay. They have got a good friends in the school nowadays. I actually love Wellingborough. I don't know what people have many reasons to moan. I actually love it. I find it more multicultural because before, when I was doing it, I only see a lot of Polish people because the only places I used to go is a school, and you can see all the Polish people. And then, but after when I started doing food buying, and I was like, oh no, there are many other peoples out there, like from different background and cultures. So it's not, I don't think it's like white or any black dominated. I think it's a quite multicultural Wellingborough, which I love it. It's the beauty of all the cultures and diversity is there. Love the fact.
I totally agree. I had a similar sort of experience with, I don't know, when did I last stand for an election? Probably 2017. And there was little old me sitting on the stage with a Conservative, Labour, Lib Dem, and I think it was UKIP or something like that. And obviously this was the time when we're all talking about Brexit and all the rest of it. And they were saying, oh, there's hundreds of like Eastern Europeans. And I'm like, so I got my little figure book out and quoted, and actually there isn't that many people from Europe, Eastern European here. It just so happens that you see them out because that's their culture. Do you know what I mean? If you see a lot of one person, it doesn't mean there's millions of people here. And we all know how the Brexit debate went and sort of marginalised quite a few people. And I was trying to be, I don't know, the adult in the room to sort of say, it isn't the massive issue that you're trying to sort of divide us all with. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, enough about me. Joanne hasn't said anything, Joanne. So I think, if you don't mind, is there anything you would like to add?
I'm more of a listener, me. No, I mean, obviously, been working for Wellingborough Town Council only since like last November, but it is amazing how many different cultures and diverse people there are in Wellingborough, and it is quite hard to try and pick them and involve them all as such when we are at the moment trying to work together. So if there are any events or anything like that, we want them and to advertise them to let other people know in the area that might not know what's going on. We've got obviously our website, we've got an app that you can download. We've got our social medias, we've got Facebook and Twitter, and then also we do a newsletter twice a year. So we're trying to get out lots of different information, different ways. But it's just trying, like you say, trying to learn a balance, and education's key at the end of the day. The more it's talked about, the more people kind of try and can try and understand it.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think that everybody so far has said that actually Wellingborough is doing really quite well on this. Like I say, there are places in the country that, I don't know, just don't, do they? It just sort of still is an issue, a massive issue, like between sort of different people.
Are we sharing information now about events and activities and things?
Go on then, Marion.
plan.
Unless anybody's got, I'll just stop Marion for 2 seconds, but unless anybody's got anything else to add on the inclusion bit, which was obviously the main sort of focus of this, we do generally allow sort of the last half hour, and we've got 26 minutes left to talk about activities and things. And I'm thinking that possibly Marion wants to go first. I don't know what gave me that idea.
No, I don't have to go first. I was just.
No, you go for it, Marion. I'm pulling your leg. Go on.
Well, I'm trying to remember what to say, really.
Okay.
So it's good to hear about the. Actually, it'd be good to hear in this sharing a bit more about the different events and activities you are running out of the Eco Hub, because I know you've got lots on the books, Jonathan. So that'd be good to hear. I hope you don't mind me stealing a bit of your thunder for the Climate Action Project. So Jonathan's organising, and I'm joining him tomorrow for a stall that we're running. Yes, you remember a stall that
I haven't organised it yet, but go on.
We're running a stall tomorrow at the One World event? One World event at the Victoria Centre tomorrow for the Climate Action Project, and I know Jonathan's probably going to have a Wellingborough group stall there as well.
We do.
Yeah, and then on the 9th of, and
Yeah,
Karen's doing the Quakers one, aren't you, Karen? And Mary, are you doing a stall tomorrow?
I got missed actually with this one. I knew that something was happening, but I didn't have the track of what was happening. So I actually missed that one. However, Sarah was here this morning, and I think Sarah is doing something with the families and those things. And I said, okay, as a support from Redeem Fund, there you go. So I did send her some stuff. So it's like a conflicts and those kind of things. I said, you can offer that to the families as well. And she wanted to make some smoothies with the children, and then to show the families, how they can cook and do the things in a budget. So we just helped her a little bit of fruits and veggie sides. So she just collected that. So that will be there tomorrow.
Who's doing that?
Sarah.
Sarah Glamis Hall?
No, not from Glamis Hall. But from children or something, I think. Somewhere. I don't know what group specific, but I know her name is Sarah.
Oh,
that's going to be a pleasant surprise tomorrow. That's good.
She will be making smoothies and those things. So whoever is making smoothies, she's the one. And then there will be a box of conflicts and everything. So that will be the side. But in Swansea Gate, they are doing pumpkin patch tomorrow.
Okay.
And they have offered us a stall. So I'm doing a tombola to raise the fund for the food bank.
Oh, right, okay.
And whatever the fund they're going to raise tomorrow, that's going to come to Redeem Fund, because apparently they had a post to people to choose and nominate a group, and we got the highest nomination, so we are the winner. So that's why. Yeah. So they're going to raise the fund, whatever they raise on tomorrow afternoon from 11 to 3. They're going to donate it to Redeem Funds, and on top of that they offered us a table as well if we want to do something. I said, okay, I'll do the food pantry, and we've got some new toys. Tombola, Christmas is coming. People can buy toys and donate to the charity. So that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Can I ask you, Mary, do you want any green tomatoes, because we've got tons of them?
Fruits are always welcome. Please do bring.
I've got a plan for those.
Green tomatoes.
I was going to give them away tomorrow, Marion. as
All
part
right.
of
Well,
the-
I've got some for tomorrow if we want them.
Yeah, we'll have a pile of tomatoes. You've got apples and all
Green
sorts.
tomatoes, Brain. Would you like green tomatoes?
Well, I was just thinking, I know, yeah, I was just thinking, I've got so many apple trees and my cooking apples are humongous and I've got so many of them. And I said the other day, who can I give all these apples to?
Are you coming? Are you coming tomorrow? Or of course, there's Mary as well.
Yeah, being honest, I'm going to be totally honest. I didn't know about this event tomorrow. This is the first I'm hearing about it. So I was just trying to think Victoria Centre, what they're having stalls. So I was just trying to gather the information as you're saying it, to be honest. But
Yes, but it's a sort of a climate event
yeah,
tomorrow, and but with lots of different groups. And I think Karen was saying to me they've asked everybody to create a game for kids to take part in. So yeah, it's the first time they've done it.
right.
So, you know, there's quite a few groups going. I don't know if the town council going tomorrow, Joanne. Yeah, oh good. We'll all be there, won't we?
Yeah, I'll be there. We're doing
You coming tomorrow, Dory?
I think we're doing bug homes and make a bag out of an old t-shirt.
Oh wow.
Okay.
That's really cool. That's
Mm.
really cool. The
Um,
Eco Group are doing a swap shop, hoping to do something with the community allotment with Marion's tomatoes and food sharers. So some of your cereals might be there anyway from us as well, Mary. So. And we're doing like a big information thing about the things that we do and what the Wellingborough Climate Action Project do. Plus, I think Made with Many are there as well. You've said about your bug houses, haven't you? There's a good sort of 10 different organisations there, apart from Redeem Funds, obviously. But the other thing,
You guys will represent part of me as well then.
I'll put a sign up for you. I was going to put a box out, but you nicked it off me yesterday.
What
But
I'll
anyway.
do is, sorry, Jonathan, what I'll do is like, I'll see what collection I'll get tonight. And if there's any item that's more surplus, I'll sort it out all in a crate and you can collect that in the morning as well and take it for the families.
You're an absolute angel, and I think everybody says that about you, so that's good. The other event that's happening tomorrow as well is that the library are doing something too. They're doing pumpkin carving. They've got guys on display, including one from us, Wellingborough Eco Group, sorry, one from Welling Wombles, but also ones from schools. There's one from Olympic Primary School there. There's one from Teamwork Trust. When I put mine there, I think we were number 6 and number 7 was Freddie just behind me. So hopefully they're going to have 10 or so scarecrows, guys. Sorry, I've let the side down a little bit there because our guy was actually the scarecrow at the allotment until this week. So there you go. He's been redressed. Anyhow, does anybody else have any other events they'd like to share and publicise? Karen.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be there tomorrow, part of the Quakers about climate and stuff. So that's that. But also on the 8th and the 10th of November, I'm going to be in the library because I've been asked to help Made with Many collect Wellingborough stories. So, you know, if you want to come and tell your story, that's that. The 8th is from 10 till 1. And the 10th is 1 till 4. So, so that's that. Also, the disability group that I coordinate is on a Friday morning via Zoom. And that's from 11 o'clock for about an hour. That's anyone with a disability, more a physical disability, because that's what it's turned out to be, really. Not that we discriminate from anyone, but you know, it's I think it's just having the same sort of things and the challenges with wheelchairs and different things that we have more in common, maybe. But yeah. So there's that. And also, as I was saying, I'm now the coordinator of the NN8 Writers Group. And we hold that once a fortnight on a Thursday evening and from 7:30. And anyone who wants to do a bit of writing and you know, is welcome to. That's on Zoom as well. So if people are interested in the disability group or the NN8 Writers Group, email me and I can add you to, or the person to, the list, and they can get the Zoom link. So
What do the writers cover? Is that including poetry or just stories, or what?
anything.
Anything.
It's very we're taking it in turns, if people wish to do this, to run the session, and people bring all different things to help people to start writing, and it can be based on life. It can be, yesterday it was my turn to do a bit, and we were adapting nursery rhymes, completely changing nursery rhymes and coming up with stories from them and things. So it was yeah, it can be anything, but it's to get people writing, and as I say, it could be serious writing, but we also have such a laugh. We always, because we often read what we've written, and sometimes it's so funny. But anyway, it's just letting you know.
One more question. Where do you share this stuff? If you've obviously got all this material happening, where does it go? Or is it just kept between the lucky few?
At the moment, it's kept between the few. People write for themselves. You know, it's just to build up confidence. I think we may use that later as do a project together. But we were just talking last night that maybe we can do something and write something together that we could actually then do something with. But at the moment, it's literally for people to feel a bit confident, and also it's difficult sometimes to sit and write on your own because you don't know where to start, and it's just trying to inspire people to start writing, and yeah, and a bit of fun.
I like a bit of fun. Joanne, you've had your hand up for a while.
Hi, we actually had a NN8 writer piece poem in our newsletter last one, I think was September 1. Yes, that was really good. Someone sent it over to us and we managed to add it in. But I was going to say to you about, we've got our tree planting. So we've got this Queen's green canopy, I think it's called, isn't it, for planting the trees for the Queen. We extended it until March because of the planting season. So we've been working with Jonathan and Marion and their allotments, and have got some trees that we're going to plant. And the date that's been finalised now is 30th of November. So we're looking to head down to Castlefields, where we'll plant 24 rowans in a coppice, I think it's called, coppice area of the park, and then also an oak, which has been now agreed to be planted by the other oaks at the bandstand. And that oak's in commemoration of the new king, and the rowans are in memory of Queen Elizabeth II. So so I'm going to be sending out lots of information, because I'm working with Jonathan and Marion about that as well. But I was actually going to contact Greatwell Homes to see if they wanted to also come along and be involved, or have a little group to be there on the day as well. So if it's possible, I can have your contact details, Lorraine. And I've had Nikki's.
I was going to say, Nikki, there's 4 of us in the community involvement team, but Nikki tends to be the one to that will be dealing with the sort out the the green agenda. It's on his agenda. My agenda's more about communication, disabilities, equality, that side. But equally, send me something along, because I'm sure there's things that you've said today, and I'm like, oh, I could talk to Joanne about that. That makes sense. So absolutely connect with me. That's no problem.
Great stuff. Well, Jonathan, if you can send on my details, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, no, of course. Of course. Lorraine, I think you were the next to have your hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just a quick one. What the customers have decided to do to sort of raise awareness around different calendar things is we're doing stories from around the world. That's what we're doing at the moment. Like I said, we've just done a story for Black History Month, and I'd love to share it on everybody's platform. We also did something for Mind, for Mental Health Awareness Day, where we've got 2 housing associations together reading a poem from a young person that has serious mental health issues, and she was quite honest in her poem, so we thought we'd want to be the voice for her. But one of the things that I am personally looking for, on the 16th of November, I will be filming our CEO reading our Christmas story. Now, I was interested if anyone in the community had written a Christmas book or a Christmas story of any type, a children's story that we could maybe read a book from our community. So if anyone's got anything on that, please let me know. That's me. Thank you.
That'd be fabulous. Thank you, Lorraine. Where are you, Mary? There you are. You've moved. Go for it, Mary. I think you had your hand up.
Right, we've got 2 events coming in December. Now, one, the date is finalized, the other I haven't, because we did that last year as well, and I want to give the continuity to it. The one, the date is finalized, is Christmas dinner for the elderly one, especially the one who are home alone. We did that last year, massive hit, everybody loved it. It was really joy to do that. So I wanted to give continuity to it. Spoke with Father Ben. I told him I want to give the continuity. We will fund it no matter what. This year, we're going to do that on 17th of December. However, Father Ben, the church has a bit of a pot. So they said not to worry about the purchase of food and those things. They will cover it. So I will just do buying the present, because we do a proper 3-course meal for them, and then at the end of the dinner, we just give them a present to take home with lots of, they can have a chocolates, they can have a treat boxes, they'll have a gloves, the smelly spades, crossword puzzles, and those kind of things. So, they have something to take home. So now this year, they're going to cover the food side, and I'm going to cover the present side as well. So that's going to happen. We try to limit the number only because some of them are on a wheelchair and those things. That's why also last year there were many people who wanted to volunteer, but I limited them only because I don't want it to be crowded with the people. I want them to freely move, just walk around, whatever they want to do it. So that's why we limited how many elderly on we can. I think we are aiming this year as well around 25 of them. But also, if you know someone in the community or, in your neighborhood, they don't have any families, they're all by themselves, please do let me know, and we can fit them in the sheets as well. And then I'll let you know when, like an invitation, when they can come. But they need to be dropped and they need to be picked up. We won't be able to do that. If needed, if there's no any options, then we can try and see if there's anybody who can just, pick them up, drop them. So that's going to happen on 17th of December. The other thing is, like last year as well, we went out 2 days before Christmas, because we know on the day of Christmas all the shops will be shut, everything. So we went 2 days before the Christmas with the food parcels that can last. They has a date for 2 more days to give it to the homeless people who are out on the street. So when, on the Christmas day, if everything is shut, at least they've got something to eat. I'm planning to do that again this year, very much, but not 100% fixed with, am I going to go on 23rd out or on 24th? But just that's another thing that's going to happen to support the homeless people, just they have something bit to eat during Christmas or Boxing Days.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Super. Thank you for that, Mary. Doreen, have you got anything you'd like to share? Because I've got a stack of stuff I'd like to share, as sort of introduced by Marion earlier. But
Well, only really one thing for Marion. Remember, Marion, I sent you that picture of that cracked paving stone near the traffic lights, near where the disabled people live. It's pebbled, it's for the blind people, how the paving stone is. But there's 2 that's cracked, you see. And today there were some leaves covering it and you couldn't see the crack. And there are a couple of elderly people with a stick, one nearly blind, and if you could just send that off for me, Marion, because I'll try to send it to where you have to send to, but I'm not good at that sort of thing. It didn't go. So I sent you the picture, Marion, didn't I? If you could send it off to where it's got to go to get it repaired, please.
Yeah, it's Fix My Street, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah, I don't know. See, I'm not into all that stuff. I'm only just about into Zoom, so.
you're doing well on Zoom. Yeah, you've done some
that's
really
all I've
interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Marion, you've got your hand up talking about Marion.
Yeah, there was other things I wanted to mention. Some of them you might mention, Jonathan, but well, I tell you what, you do your bit, and then anything you haven't mentioned, I'll mention afterwards.
Go on then, crikey, I'm chomping at the bit. Tomorrow also is our 2-hour tidy up, which is our monthly litter pick, which funnily enough is at the Victoria Centre because we're there anyway. So we're doing the Victoria area, for a better term, I don't know. That's from 10 till 12. I'll talk about some other stuff in a second, but we have a calendar on our website, wellingborough.ecogroup.org.uk, and I'm talking about that more than anything else. I do apologise. We are having a Happy Poems workshop. So we've got some writers on here. There's one in November, Thursday the 10th of November at 6 till 8 o'clock. Why Happy Poems? Because I've got a page on Facebook that's got 8,500 likes and it shares loads of happy poems. It's one of those things I do. We're doing that with a new CIC called Many Flavours of Wellingborough, and also a little organisation called the Bardic Basement. So that'll be a nice collaboration. And if we can do that with NN8 writers, Karen, that'd be amazing. Get everybody in. It's at the Eco Hub. I am going to try and get a hybrid system linked up so it can be on Zoom at the same time as well.
What time is that day?
6 till 8 on that Thursday, and then also Thursday the 10th of November, sorry. There's 2 of them. There's going to be another one. I think it's the 8th of December, again 6 till 8 it is. It's good, this calendar thing I've got on my little phone, but there we go. Other things we do every Tuesday, we have swap shops, food sharers, and Tuesday tidy ups. Swap shops, very simple. You bring something along, you swap it for something else. So something you don't want for something you do want. Or if you haven't got anything to swap, you can give us a small donation. Food sharers is supported by Mary at Redeemed Funds and also the co-op. So people can come and get like stuff that's close to date. Seems to work really well with Redeemed Funds number 2 because Tuesday's the last day they do. So we try and save the majority of their food. So that works. We've also got green drinks on that Tuesday as well, which is in an old Wellingborough pub, the Queen's Head. That's 7 till 9 o'clock, and that's just talking about environmental issues. There's no agenda. It's an excuse for me to go down the pub. Let's be honest about it.
What's the date of that, Jonathan?
This Tuesday, the 1st of November.
4th of November.
Green drinks is always the first Tuesday in the month. Wednesday's community allotment working party from 9 till 12, and eco crafters from 1 till 3 at Eco Hub. The community allotment, as probably most of us on here know, is at Ladywell Allotments, and either this one or the next one we're going to have to plant up a few trees, aren't we, Joanne? So there you go. Thursday is Happy Cafe, replay board games and energy savers from 12 till 2. And Friday from 12 till 3 is Eco Club for Kids, which is mainly a home ed group. It gives children that aren't at school a place to sort of come in the warm and socialise basically and learn some skills. We have a load of crafts going on. We get all the toys out. There's loads of Lego being not chucked everywhere, but there's lots of stuff going on. On Sunday, the 6th of November, there's Northants Veggies Vegan and Veggie Winter Warmer, which is again at the Eco Hub. That's another hat, sorry. I also have a group called Northants Veggies and Vegans. And then Monday, it all starts again. And the following Saturday is our new and improved repair cafe, which is 9 till 12 on the 12th of November. So if you've got something that is broken or you don't know how to use it or it just needs cleaning, you can book it on our website at wellingborougheco.org.uk/eco/repair cafe, or just have a look at the internet site, or just bring it along and we'll do our best to fix it. But yeah, do have a look at the website for the Eco Group. For co-op, and I know we're running out of time a bit, we've got some celebrations coming up. Saturday, the 5th of November, myself and Mary are going to be at Co-op Olympic Way. And Mary's going to tell all the customers about Redeemed Funds, and I'm hoping to give her a big check because she was a co-op cause last year. This year, we have 3 new causes. 1 is Teamwork Trust, 2 is RS May Butterfly Kisses, and 3, believe it or not, and yes, this wasn't a fix, is Wellingborough Eco Group. So there's 3 causes. You can go, if you're a co-op customer and you've got one of those little blue cards, you can go on the app or the website and choose your favourite. I think that's about it, Marion. There are things that we're going to do with the Wellingborough Climate Action Project. Soon we are thinking about having 2 more climate conversations, one on the east of the town, one on the west of the town. So one will probably be at Glamis Hall. The other one will either be at the Victoria Centre or the Hemingwell Centre. Similar sort of format to what we had before, but also bringing the huge wealth of knowledge that we've gained over the last few months from all of our workshops. And if you want to know more about the workshops or even watch them, you can go to wcap.org.uk and watch all the videos of either me or Marion sort of presenting on, I think it was 12 different workshops we did. There's quite a few, wasn't there, Marion? One was split into 2, so I might be one out either way. Go for it, Marion. You're desperate to say something else, I can see.
No, that's all right. Thanks very much, Jonathan, for all of that. A couple of things. In terms of, so the WCAP project is obviously at the Victoria Centre tomorrow, and then Jonathan and I will be at a Nenscape event on the 9th of November at Sywell Aerodrome. I don't know if that's open to the public or not. I'm not sure, but
I thought it was a business sort of thing, but
yeah, we're not sure. So Nenscape was a 5-year project for doing up the line of the River Nen from Peterborough to Northampton, and they did lots and lots of different projects as a part of that, and I think that's sort of winding up now through this event. We'll be there. Just picking up on what Jonathan was saying in terms of the we're hoping to hold 2 more climate conversations, really to feed back from all the work we've been doing this year, which we've been doing with communities, we're doing on the workshops, and we've been doing with business. We're getting some very positive responses from local business about taking climate action. And we've recently received some funding to, one thing I wanted to tell you is that we're looking to launch a new service in the new year, which will be about energy advice and climate action for people, households, and for business. So, and we're already doing work. So I'll be doing work between now and then to get that service into a sort of a shape. We're still clarifying what exactly we're going to do, how exactly we're going to do it, and where we're going to do it. So, but we're doing all that work in the next few weeks' time to get us ready for the new year. I'm training to become a domestic energy assessor. I've just passed that. So part of the core of our service will be giving both domestic and non-domestic energy advice or support to businesses and to people, to become more specific about actions that people can take, both to save money energy-wise, but also to look at retrofitting their homes or retrofitting their businesses. So there's lots that we want to launch to do with that in the new year. So there's quite a lot of work to do before we get ready on that. Yeah, and it's nice to pass something, get another qualification.
we are coming towards the end of our time, Marion, but do finish us off if you like.
The other thing I wanted to...
I'm sorry, Marion. Everybody, I have to go. I've got a visitor coming now. That's what the phone call was about.
Our time's almost up.
Next week. Okay, bye. Bye.
One thing I wanted to just finish on was to do with funding for people. So there's grants we're looking at, but people may not have seen that there's a Community Matters grant that's on offer at the moment. Deadline, unfortunately, is Monday.
Yeah.
But it is,
Thank you.
It is about...
Go on.
It's coming from local giving, but it's funded by the National Grid. And it's about getting actions together in terms of energy support for people during the winter. So, I mean, we could probably have a chat anyway, Mary, but we're looking to put a bid in. That'll be the Climate Action Project with Glamis Hall.
Cover me in that as well, so that one person can do the bidding and then we can share rather than...
Well, this is it. So Karen's been looking up things that we're thinking of getting some packs together, packs of useful kit for people to give out to people and families. from, if we get the grant from, I think you get it in the middle, the money in the middle of November. So Karen's been looking at what sort of little items we could be buying to help people during this difficult time, whether it's blankets or well, Karen's been looking at the whole list, but I know there's quite a few things we were looking at that's going to, we were looking at one thing we were looking at was maybe a slow cooker that hopefully will cost very little to run, but could help people make sure they do have a hot meal every day. The other thing is that we can do sort of a food, warm spaces opportunity as well. And we've been talking about providing extra funds so that the Eco Hub can be open more times or more days in the week, and maybe offer a hot food during that time while people are there, hot drinks, etc. So obviously anybody who's connected to food, I will probably be tapping you on the shoulder very soon. But we're looking to put that bid in, but I also wanted to let you know about it as well. And if anybody is interested in knowing more about that and applying for funds with them, again, just send me a quick message today. There was another one, there's another grants around SEMLEP funding for local businesses, and I have asked again about whether people from the town council could go on that apply for funding to them or go on training, but not getting very far with that one, I'm afraid. But we are looking for opportunities there. So and the more funds I can find about, and obviously perhaps Joanne can say if there's still funding available from the town council for before the end of the year.
Yeah, we've got our second batch of applications we're going to be taking to a January meeting. So it's open for non-profit organisations, and we have up to £1,000 that you can apply for. Our information's on the website. So yeah, so just scroll down a bit on the homepage. There should be a little button saying grants. And yeah, see if you're eligible and yeah, apply. Try and get it in before the end of December, and then we'll get it all decided in January.
Awesome. I think probably we've gone over by 5 minutes, and I'm normally quite brutal. We're telling everybody to finish at 3:30. So what I would like to say is thank you all for being wonderful. We've done a wonderful thing. It's been great sort of sharing with you all, but it's really sort of important to say that everybody on this call is absolutely fabulous, and it's an absolute pleasure to work with you on this. The other thing to say to you is your little faces and all of this stuff that we've talked about will be on YouTube fairly soon, if not tonight, tomorrow. So if you want to share it, do so. And thank you all for your contributions.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Thank you all. See you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Lorraine. Bye, Mary.
Thank you for that, Mary.
You have to stop the recording now.
Well, yeah, I can't do it for laughing.